madly offensive. And then Carlos is doing the faux dance. You're gonna make me curse tonight.
Welcome
Carlos.
to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Carlos Gomez. We're gonna do the Harlem Shake for about a minute, just to get it started off right. And over there, just about to be passed out, Charlie B. Williams III. Come on, get it.
You know this shouldn't be called the Harlem Shake, right?
Charlie B. Williams.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, excuse Carlos this week. He's got
And
his
then
Cubs outfit
let me
on,
introduce you to the guy who's actually in charge, Jack Kasperzak.
Let's make some magic!
Yeah!
Jack makes magic for a living. Makes people smile.
And least but not most, Tyrus Gaucher.
I'm the greatest, I'm the best in the business, I'm the people's choice. The people love me. Basically, everybody's tuning in to see me, to see what I'm going to do this week. And I'm going to shock you like I did last week. Let's go. I'm looking at a picture of your mother. That's what I'm looking at.
Is she right? She's there.
Now I want to introduce the world to a dear friend of ours, Dara Honeybourne.
It's the born identity. It's the honeyborn identity.
Close friend.
Dara Honeybourne.
So much for her being a good friend of ours.
Yeah.
She is. She just don't know how we do.
Just like John Travolta.
Nice. Welcome. Yeah.
Hello.
Say hello.
What's going on?
Say hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. How's life?
I'm good.
Anything new in anyone's life today? This week? No? Crickets? Okay. Alright. So we're going to go ahead and start talking to my girl, Dara, because she's the only one with any kind of sense in this room.
No.
Hi, Miss Dara.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Kind of wondering what I got myself into, but
Don't worry. We'll have to ask your forgiveness later.
Let's talk about this picture. The winner.
The winner.
The winner.
Yeah.
Once again, back it set. So actually, let's start out where it all began, in the cold, cold depths of Canada.
it's not that cold.
The land that time forgot.
The third world country of Canada.
Is it true that dinosaurs still exist in Canada?
Yes. And you can see what is it? Russia from here.
No.
That's Alaska, Charlie.
Alaska.
That's a whole different,
Yeah.
It's
whole
all
different
the same.
reference.
Charlie ruined it on so many different levels. So what part of Canada are you from, Dara?
I'm from Alberta, Fort McMurray, so like really, really far north. So like the nearest city to my city is like a 5-6 hour drive away.
What?
Can you tell us all about Toronto?
No, I've never been there. That's like complete opposite side of the country.
Oh,
Yo, so
Wow.
you grew up near,
Okay,
like,
so next week on the
Montreal, right?
podcast, we talk geography.
so what was it like growing up in Toronto?
Hey,
I
it's
heard
for
an amazing
Alberta.
No, it's
Toronto
even where
was
the Winter Olympics were. You know, it's the province right next to it.
Oh.
Hey,
So you speak
Tyrus.
French?
Tyrus, there's no I in Alberta.
What are you talking about? No one thinks there's an I in Alberta.
Charlie, as serious as he could be, says, French?
That was a joke.
Okay.
You know, everything you guys say, I'm just going to go back home and tell everyone.
Similar
about
to
it.
the Cubs.
So you were in the wintry depths of Alberta, Canada.
Yes.
Canada.
How did you become interested in the world of gaming, actually?
Well, oh, okay. Like when I was in high school, I went to Japan for like a student exchange, and when I was over there, there was some kind of like a gaming expedition kind of thing. I don't remember what it was called because at the time I didn't speak the language that well, but like I got to see, you know, like all the models and stuff, so it was like more in depth, which was really cool. So when I got back to Canada, I was like, I need to do this when I graduate. So I went and Googled a school, and yeah, that's what I did.
So you went to Japan. Do they speak French there?
No,
French?
they try, but
Yeah.
Is that near Toronto?
Near Montreal. No.
Okay, so you go to Japan. they plant the seed of visual arts and gaming and everything. Hang on, I need to turn these off. And then you Googled a school, and you went to school in Chicago.
Yes.
Which school did you go to in Chicago?
Well, I think it goes by a different name now, but I went to IADT, so International Academy of Design Technology, and I went there because they had the word international in it, so I was like,
Never
oh, I
heard
can
of
go.
Never heard of
Must
it.
be
Continue.
But like there was a few schools in Canada for game design, but they're all like just one-year programs for just like a graduate degree, I guess. And I figured I'd need more time to actually get into something, so I just like Googled United States school, and then that was like one of the ones that popped up. So like I said, it had the word international in it, so I was like, oh, I guess I'm welcome. That's what I did.
I like this story. This is awesome.
There was a couple of locations too, but the one I was looking at, I think it was like in Miami, and then it was Chicago. But I was like, well, I don't want to go where it's hotter because I need cold, so I went to Chicago because I heard they get snow, which I don't really see much snow here, but I mean, it's all right.
Who chooses
snow here?
I can't stand heat. Like I get sick. So
Because she doesn't know anything else.
Yeah, so that's why I ended up going to school.
So you got a bachelor's degree in game design. How long ago was that?
Last June or July. So.
Oh, so you're fresh out.
Yes, fresh out.
And then let's talk about the process. The process of you getting an internship at a place called Forever Interactive.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the time, actually, I think Charlie and Tyrus were both working there, and then I kind of heard about it at my school for a bit. So it was kind of just something that was like there that I took that like opportunity that was available for me, because everyone else was having a hard time finding internships like in Chicago, because I guess our work kind of sucked. So I kind of just like applied there, and I got in. Like they let me do the internship, so that's what I did.
Were you doing an internship during your school, or was it right after school?
No, it was during my school.
Oh, okay.
I like to keep busy, so.
Cool. Did you find going to an art school helpful at all?
Yeah, well, definitely. I don't think I'd be able to. Well, I mean, there's like a lot of people that do stuff at home, like they self-teach themselves programs, which is cool, but I think I would get really frustrated if I didn't actually go to school to like learn it. Someone teach me and go through it, because some of the stuff is like really overwhelming. So I feel like kind of helpful. Like I wouldn't give it up for anything.
What was your favorite part of school?
I liked homework.
You liked homework.
Because you get better.
Sunshine.
Charlie, you know that. Like every single time you do something, you get better and better. So that's awesome. The more homework you get, the more you get to do.
That.
And you're still at Forever Interactive?
Yeah. Because I'm waiting on work visa stuff right now, so I can't actually work like an actual studio facility in Chicago. So it's kind of hard to do online. So
basically, we can call the immigration and get you kicked out.
Everyone always says that. Please don't.
Please don't.
You're always
welcome.
welcome.
Immigration on Carlos too. I'm sure he'll get kicked out before you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't spend too much. I can't spend too much time in Arizona. Otherwise, I'm as good as gone.
Yeah.
Hey, Charlie, let me give you a slow clap.
Hey. You gotta keep back the wolves.
So what's the project that you're working on at Forever Interactive?
There's just like a bunch of like environment pieces I'm working on right now. There's like a desert kind of looking board thing, so I'm doing a lot of like ruined buildings and that kind of thing. So it's it's fun. It's stuff.
The name of the game is Visions of
Zosimos.
Zosimos?
Yeah, it's a mouthful, but yeah.
Yeah. What kind of game is that?
Paper?
What kind of game is that?
Honestly, the best way to explain it, it's like super. It's too complicated for me. I'm not smart enough to like get it, but it's like a weird.
She's like, have you heard of Mario Kart?
No, it's kind of like a weird mixture, like Magic the Gathering and like a bunch of other things like online. I don't know. It's like I've tried playing it a couple times, but I'm not.
Is it iPad or like computer PC based or what?
I think it's just PC based right now. I don't know if they want to go mobile and stuff later on, but it's like
It's a role playing game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they're
role-playing.
calling it MMO card collecting game. So they're taking it from the aspect of Magic the Gathering and any of those like Pokemon or those card collecting games you would play, and they've made a digital online version where you log in, similar to like you log into WoW or log into EverQuest, one of those MMOs that are out today. You log in and you play against other people. You collect cards just like you would collect Magic. You know, all those guys that have the crazy binders with Magic the Gathering. You collect digital cards and then you play those on the board.
So it's basically WoW meets Pokemon.
Yeah.
So what are the 3D environments for? It's all cards.
It's a digital. It's a digital card collecting game. So like yeah, it's online. So it's a computer game that simulates the same type of deal where you have these 3D characters that you collect in the form of cards, and then you go into online matches and you play on in an environment, and the environments have hazards and stuff like that. Excuse me, stuff like that on the board that you then fight against people, and you're trying to build your deck outside of the game. There's like what's called a homunculus, which is like a card builder where you can then. Huh? There's like a card builder where you can build decks and then play them. So that's what it is.
Okay, so it's a good thing that Dara's working on the project.
She said I used to work on the project.
Yeah, you can explain it better.
Yeah. And then, so you're there as an environmental artist, yeah?
Yes, that's correct.
What are the expectations you had going out of school, and now that you're in the profession, have your expectations matched? Are you doing, or is your daily life at work the same as what you're expecting when you graduated?
Well, I mean, I'm sure I don't know. It's because I can't actually go into like a full-time like studio job right now, so I'm sure it's gonna be a lot different when I actually get like an immigration stuff in order. So I don't really know how to answer that question right now because the work I'm doing for like Forever Interactive is kind of just takes up the time that I would have been doing schoolwork. So it's not really that much of a difference for me. So I can't really tell you that until I actually get into a real job. But I mean, it's I always figured it was going to be really difficult, and I still think it's probably going to be extremely difficult, more so now, because I always see these like crazy artists, and I'm like, oh crap, I gotta go up against them for a job. Like that's not gonna happen. So I don't know. It's a little like disheartening, but I guess you just keep practicing. And hopefully, you get a break.
Actually, getting in is the hardest part. Once you're in, you have to try to mess up to get kicked out. So,
or you gotta really suck.
Yeah, really. Especially. So here's Big Brother's advice: get in there and make friends, but make sure that your work stands up for itself. But your relationships that you create in these jobs that you're doing, those are going to carry you throughout your career, because the friends that you make here will eventually work at the different studios in Chicago, and then some people will end up coming out to LA or maybe Miami or whatever. And then those are the relationships that people, or that will guide you through your career. So don't be afraid. Learning the tools. You already have a really good grasp of it, because the work that you submitted to the web page, it's really good. What gave you the idea to do a lion-headed door knocker?
Well, like you said, I'm kind of doing environment stuff right now, but I've been trying to get kind of into characters. Like for some reason, I got an issue with it. Like whenever I see a figure of someone, I'm like, oh, I can't do that. It looks so hard. But I started trying to take like things that are like environment pieces, but they look like animals and people, and like I can't wrap my head around that. It's really kind of weird. But I wanted to do a lion, but I couldn't do a real full lion, so I'm like, okay, let's do a lion door head knocker, so I can practice, and it just seems easier, so that's what I did.
Very nice. Do you do any other kind of artwork? Do you do
I do like portraits, like traditional drawing. I'm doing that for like a lot of years, but I don't post up anything like that just because it's, I don't know, I'm just feeling about it. But I did a lot of like traditional stuff when I was growing up, so that definitely helps, with like the 3D aspects right now. So.
Tyrus wants me to ask you about your eyebrows.
What's wrong with my eyebrows? Wait, what?
I think he might be jealous.
Jealous of my eyebrows? What are you
He
talking
is. He's
about?
pretty jealous because his eyebrows kind of fade into his forehead. So,
Oh.
hey, Dara, have you had any experience with going to any studios or doing any interviews yet? And how has that worked out?
Well, I haven't really been doing, like, trying to apply actively at studios yet, just because I don't want to, especially right now, I don't want them to be like, oh, we want you to come in. And I'm like, actually, I can't do it, sorry. I want them to be offended, like, what, you don't want our contract, blah, 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 blah. So I haven't really done too much until I actually get my visa stuff. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I just got,
So where do you want to go after this?
you
Do you
mean
want to
like,
get into features? Do you want to get into special effects? Do you want to stay in gaming?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I'm kind of just,
Work at Starbucks.
no. Well, no. 3 Starbucks, I don't know. No,
Magic with
I definitely want to stay in gaming because it's just, it's so much fun being able to make stuff and then see it actually, like, win a game. It's cool. But I'll just have to see exactly where I go, just kind of flow with the tide.
Hey, Dara, let me ask you this. So do you ever think about finding something specifically that you want to do or numbering down saying, okay, here are 4 companies I'd like to work for and kind of shooting for those companies?
Well, I have that, but those are like the dreams, like the goals of like, 20 years later because, that'll take a long time. But
If it takes you 20 years to get there, you might want to reevaluate.
well, no, it would be like, everyone, like I always wanted to work and like make Final Fantasy games. Like that was always my thing. So I'm sure it's going to take me a long time to work for like a crazy company like that. Because everyone wants to do it. So it's, I'm sure it's
you never know. All it takes is one artist thinking that way.
Well,
All
I
this
mean,
crazy
I'm not.
nonsense talk. Stop it.
But
Just
we'll
stop
see.
it. Just stop it. Nice.
I wasn't sure. I
Nice.
thought she was going to get into the other companies. So you said
No,
Final Fantasy. What other companies?
No, like I know there's BioWare, which I was really, really interested in. Just because I think they're based in Edmonton, which is where I was born originally, so that'd be kind of cool to go there. And then, of course, everyone wants to work like for Blizzard as like a whole. And then, like, well, there's like 6,000 other studios everyone wants to work at, so I don't really have. I don't know. I like them all. I don't know what to say, so I can't really tell until I get into one of them if I don't like it or not. But I'm sure it'd be pretty awesome.
Well, the good thing is that there's a bunch of companies that are migrating out into Canada.
See?
So, yeah, that's one of the up-and-coming places for video game companies to leave or open up at. So I know 2 opened up in Toronto in the last 2 years. I think EA is out in Canada, right, Charlie?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Toronto.
EA is out. Yeah, Toronto.
Huge
I think
studio, like in Vancouver.
out there, and there's another company
is out there.
Yeah, so there's quite a few out there that are just starting out. So that's a good place to be.
Mhm.
Well,
Did you guys notice that everything that she said, she works for a video game company in Chicago, she wants to go work for a place in Edmonton, or she wants to work in Blizzard. Everything about this girl, she wants to do something with snow.
With the code, yeah.
yeah, I like snowmen. Okay, I don't know.
Have you done much freelance? Do you do freelance at all?
I've tried, but like I don't have too much experience, as it were, so it's kind of hard to, I don't know, people interested in me right now, but keep trying, I guess. That's all I can really do, but
Now, do you only do environments, or do you do characters also?
Well, that's what I said. I'm trying to ease my way into it without freaking out too much. So, I started doing, like, I modeled, like, a hippo kind of thing, and, I'm starting to try and get into a little bit, but nothing I'm too confident in right now, so.
I'm going to have to stop you from talking to Tyrus, going over to the dark side of characters. You do great environments. Stick with environments. Let's not talk to Tyrus about characters. He's an evil person that you should stay away from.
What
Environment artists are the backbone of the country and the gaming industry.
What tools do you use? What software do you use?
I use a lot of ZBrush, like a lot, Maya, and just for like rendering out stuff, I use like Marmoset, like Toolbox, and yeah, and just a couple other things. But right now, like I'm just in love with ZBrush because I found out I can actually use it. It took me like a year to get it working properly, but ever since I started picking up more and more, I love it now. So that's what I use the most.
Do you animate at all?
Like I can a little bit. So I had to learn that for my degree, but I don't really like it. I don't know. It's kind of confusing. Like it's fun, but it's like like I don't really care about making something move.
Yeah.
She doesn't care about making magic.
No. Well, no.
See, you just hurt Jack's feelings.
No, I'm sorry. That's not what I meant, though.
Yeah, skip those guys. Those guys are weirdos.
I get it. I can't model, so.
Have you guys seen that little stick figure animation that was going around Facebook about the freelance artist?
I saw that you posted that. What was it all about?
For those that haven't seen it, basically it's this really cute stick figure animation where this artist goes in and has a conversation with the boss, and the boss kind of gets him to shrink his price down to whatever the boss the figures is good enough. And then the artist goes, and the animation is basically showing all the different ways that this artist is spending money. And obviously time is money, so the time that it takes this artist to wait for the bus and get on the bus and talk to the boss, the artist obviously needs to eat and drink his coffee and pay for his electric bill and all this stuff. So all the while, all this money is floating by, and the moral of the story is be careful as a freelancer, because everything that you do costs money. Therefore, you need to go get your money's worth, or at least charge what you're worth. Have you guys seen that animation? What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I think I had a couple friends that are in the industry already tell me about that when I first got into it, and I think it's a really good lesson. I think we lose that. I think a lot of times, Dara mentioned that she wanted to start doing freelancing once she gets all the stuff in order and stuff like that, and she's like literally at the beginning of her career. So it's kind of a cool notion that a lot of times students think they need to like charge really, really low or work for free, especially if they're good, in order to like get business. And I think that's a good notion to know that like you should charge with what you're worth. You shouldn't overcharge, but charge what you're worth, and so that you can like basically eat. I think that's great.
Jack, you do a lot of freelance. What's your stance?
Yeah, I did my fair share of working for far less than I probably should have, but yeah, I don't know. It's like a tricky, tough balance because like Charlie's saying, in order to get the work and to keep it going, you want to charge a cheap price or cheaper than the other guys they're looking at, but you don't have to. And anyone that actually values your work is going to pay what you're worth and what you usually pretty close to what you're asking. Obviously, they always want to come down a little bit. But it's kind of like it's a global kind of problem with the whole freelance industry. And there's so many guys that are willing to work for free, but almost free. There's even these websites. I was talking to this guy. I was going to do a wine label, and this guy. I forget the name of the website, but it's this website where you post your project and then you get a bunch of guys to bid on it. And he effectively got like 20 to 30 different guys sending him concept art, pitching it, and those guys didn't get paid. You know, he just picks this one guy, and I think he said he paid $150 for this design, and it's like, that's nothing for a wine label. And then all, you know, these 25, 30 other guys that didn't even get paid because they were just trying to land the project for free. It's just...
Jack, what is that called? What is that site's called? I can't remember the term.
Isn't it like
it's one of these
5 signals
yeah,
or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Where
it's called Fiverr, and then there's another company.
Yeah, Fiverr is similar, but this one's...
There's like a term for it, right? There's like, it's like...
Scabs. That's what you call people who cross the picket line. You call them scabs.
It's like, not crowdfunding, it's like, not
yeah, I mean, it's a little bit like Elance. You know, anybody who's familiar with Elance, where you go to get like tech professionals. It's the same thing as that, but for design work. And you just post your project, and you get all these people bidding on it. I mean, essentially for free, because they do a catered pitch to your project. So it's, I mean, I don't know. I guess some of it's just an industry-wide problem that employers and guys looking for freelancers are used to this, that they can get fairly decent stuff for really cheap online. But that said, I mean, it took me a long time to kind of build up a base and just ask for my price, and people come to me specifically for my style. But, you know, if you're not doing anything that's like a style-based, that's like, you know, a little more commercial, logo-based or something like that, it's hard to compete. And I guess I don't have any solid words of advice, because it's out there, and I don't know quite. I mean, there's just guys willing to work for crap, you know, and so I don't know quite.
Because I know that happens in other industries too, where they're like, you know, and isn't it happening you're in the film industry, so isn't it happening there with like other effects houses and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, the effects houses themselves undercut each other, but even within the house itself, it's like, you know, you have these new students or younger artists that, you know, work overtime for free, and that's not only not good for that employee, it's actually bad for, you know, the company in the long run, because it throws all their numbers off. You know, they start bidding these projects saying, oh, we can do this in 10 hours, when in reality it took them, you know, 25. Not to mention, it just throws off kind of the balance of people who clock in, clock out at the proper time and bill properly. And then, you know, it leads to people getting taken advantage of, working for less. It's just, I don't know. I guess it's time for a freelancers union or something.
Yeah, because they're always trying to get some kind of union going, right? That's been an ongoing talk, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in visual effects, that's been going on for 10, 15 years. They've been trying to do that.
Well, the problem...
Go ahead, Tyrus. Sorry.
Yeah, the problem with trying to start a union is that if there were, you got a whole lot of outsourcing that would happen automatically. Because if you say... You have to pay $25 or let's say $50 an hour to every animator. Most studios couldn't afford that, or they wouldn't want to pay that. And so if you go to India, where you're going to pay $6 an hour, you're automatically going to ship the work to India, just in rebellion to the union. And so I think as artists, we're definitely at a crossroads where, you know, the websites like Fiverr, Elance, where you have so many artists who may not be as skilled, right? They may not have the same level of skills as Jack, but they're saying, hey, I don't have the resume Jack has, but I can do what you need, and I'll charge you 1/3 of what he would charge you. Only a fool would then go to Jack and say, okay, Jack, I still want you anyway. You say, well, look, it's close enough. I'll take that, especially if it's a startup project. But the key is what Jack said, is having a style that's so unique that no one else can do what you do as well, or even do it at all. That's how you find work. And so when I was coming out,
but on the other side of that coin, you might specialize yourself out of more work.
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure either way you can go wrong. You know, I would say though, what I'm seeing is that there are a lot of people who can do a lot of things, but very few people who can do things well. So when I hire artists, I'll find a lot of people who can do a little bit of everything. It's hard to find a person who's really good at that one specific thing. So yeah, you could specialize yourself out of work. That could absolutely happen. But I see it as, you know, I freelance all the time. That's all I do now is freelance. Having your own style is the key. Being able to do something really, really well allows you to go to a group of people that would prefer your style or need what you have to offer and say, here's what I do, This is what you need, and here's how much I charge. So I don't really go back and forth with prices now. I say, here's my prices. Yep, it's expensive, but if you can find somebody else who can do it, knock yourself out. And it works. Now, when I first started out, when I was like Dara, it didn't work that way. Yeah, I'd take any job, I'd do anything to kind of build a reputation and build a portfolio. But after a while, you can't really live that way. You know, you have to get to the place where you can say, here are my prices. Here's what I'm going to charge you, and take it or leave it.
And to build on that, if someone is willing to work, if someone is willing to work for, let's say, $10 an hour, they're pricing themselves out of the market. Because what's going to happen is that kid is going to eventually move out of his parents' house, and you can't make a living off of $10 an hour. And the realistic point of someone making $10 an hour is probably because they are living out of their parents' house. Anyone who has to pay their own rent, if you do the budget, you can't make it. That's why the government right now is fighting over minimum wage, because they know that people can't make it for $10 an hour. Jack and I actually had this conversation because Jack came out with his, what is it, the Pirates ABC book?
Yeah.
And Jack wanted to price his book a little less than let's just say what the market was charging for their books. And we had our discussion was around the responsibility of artists to uphold the prices, or the market price for the item that you're trying to sell. So that's kind of our way of having our union, is take a look at what everyone else is valuing their work, and value your work to that point. And you, by saying, no, I don't want to do it for $10 an hour, that's our little, I guess, false sense of community, or our union, by not going and getting undercut by these people that are gouging. There's a lot of people out there that are trying to take advantage of artists, especially because we don't value our own work. I've worked on logos and all kinds of stuff for people, and I say, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it for $50, and I'm working on this stupid logo for 2 weeks. $50, you're working for like $1.25 an hour. And then they get this logo, and now they're putting this logo on all of their merchandise. Now they're making money hand over fist, and they're more than happy to give you $50 because they just took you for a ride.
Your time is the most precious thing in that situation.
Yeah, but when we're talking about people who are fresh out of school, and they don't have very much experience, it's hard for them to say, I'm not going to do it for $10 an hour.
Yeah.
And I would say it's not very smart, because without a portfolio, you just, you can have a college portfolio, right? You did the assignments that were in the book, you have a portfolio, great, right? Nobody's really impressed with that. So I think initially I'd say plan for the first couple of years, unless you get a really big project, to really be making that $10 and under an hour, like some ridiculous fee, to build up your portfolio, to say, look, here's what I can do, here's the time it takes, and oh, by the way, here's what my clients rate me. So one of the websites I use, initially I started off not making very much money and taking any project I could. Now I have, okay, I won't even talk to you if it's under $1,000. We don't have anything to talk about. But you can't come out of college that way unless you have a fantastic portfolio. So
yeah, wouldn't you base it off talent rather than just coming out of school? Because you're not saying that the
I'm speaking in general. I just mean in general, because if you have an outstanding portfolio, then it's probably not hard for you to get work at all. You're probably going to have an easy time getting a job. I'm just speaking in general for people who are intermediate artists, just learning the software, graduating school, don't have a lot of unique projects in their portfolio. I would tell them, hey, you get whatever you can while you're learning more.
Mm-hmm. Now here's a question for you. As a I know as a college student, I always wanted to work on my own stuff. I always wanted to work on my own stories, my own characters, my own drawings, my own logos, my own everything. I actually fell for all of this stuff for the, oh yeah, I'll do that just to show on my portfolio. Yeah, because I want to work on my portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
What if these beginning artists just created their own clients and they created their own projects and worked on their own ideas? That way, they're not getting ripped off. And that way, the people that are trying to get a logo for $10 to $50, that way they learn that they need to pay for quality.
Well, the first problem I see with that is if you're working on your own projects, you don't get paid. So if you're graduating, you need money, right, to eat, or you need money for rent or whatever your situation is. You have to have income. So I can have my project on the side, but it's going to take me a while to get to the point where I can make money from that project. That's the first thing. Mm-hmm. The next thing is not all creatives are creative. Some creatives need people to give them assignments and give them things to do, and they're just creative in solving that problem. Mm-hmm. But it's really based on skill. I mean, ultimately, it's based on skill. If you have a high skill set, you can make money. If you don't, you have to take a little bit of money. And I don't know. Go ahead, Charlie. What are you going to say?
No, I'm just saying that I think it is based on skill, but at the same time, I think there could be more opportunities now with the internet than there was probably when we came out, where we had to take projects and stuff like that. And I think both of you guys raised some good points, but one point I want to raise is like there's new sites like Patreon, there's new sites like Gumroad and stuff like that, that if they are a good artist, or they do have a good technique, or they do have a good way, a good process of doing things in the form of tutorials, in the form of like having art-based channels and reviews and stuff like that. There are ways, I guess, of selling their art. So I think if they did a little bit of both, they could do it.
Let me challenge that. So how would a student out of school be able to create tutorials to sell?
There's students out of school creating tutorials now.
Yeah, but that's not the norm. That's an exception. Most students are just learning the software. So how are they creating?
I'm talking about graduates though that know the software. I'm talking about students that have talent. That's how I preface it.
But this is what I'm saying. That's the small percentage. That's not the norm. So I'm speaking in general.
Let me stop you there. What I was going to say is, because you and Carlos raised both good points, you could do a little bit of both. You could make your own projects and sell them, and find ways of selling art. There's Etsy. We've had people on the show that do a lot of different things, and not everyone has 15, 20 years of experience. There's some people that don't have any experience or have talent that can do good things, or if they have work.
Who do we have on the show that didn't have talent or experience that?
I never said that. Listen to what I said. I said
you literally just said we've had people on the show.
We had people on the show that have done stuff on Etsy and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So there are people on Etsy and those other ones that have that don't necessarily have 15 or 16 years of experience. You got to listen first.
And you were still wrong. You realize that, right? But continue.
Okay, but do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I don't. I don't understand what you're saying. Because here's what I'm saying. I'm speaking to the populace. I'm not talking about the small minority. I'm talking about most students who come out are not going to be prepared within the first year to make tutorials to sell or to make art to sell.
Okay, is where they get the art in any way they can. Yes.
Let me finish. Most of them, Charlie, let me finish my point. Most of them need experience. They need the opportunity to work with customers, by the way, to work with clients, to say, okay, well, how do I even talk to clients about prices? How do I know how to produce a logo for a client? So, most students need to go through those steps before they go, well, I'm just going to sit back and create my own thing and sell it. Now, there are exceptions to the rule, but most students aren't that way.
And I'm saying,
at what point are we going to stop that cycle?
They can do both. They don't have to just always go out and find something.
But at what point are we going to stop this cycle where artists are literally starving? And even if there's a student that's about to graduate, how many students do we know that are actually in the whatever the designated field that they're going to school for? Not many are. Most of them are working at a restaurant or working at a shoe shop or whatever. And that's why a lot of them get disheartened when they leave school, and then they're still working at that shoe shop, and they can't really find a job. And then, I mean, does it really make sense? Again, does it really make sense to work on someone else's project? And let me tell you, most of the time, if you're working for someone who's gonna pay you $50 for a logo, let me ruin the suspense for you. That logo is gonna suck no matter what you do, because anyone who wants to pay you $50 for a project,
yeah,
not only does their business suck, but they suck.
Or they're really stringent or strict with their money. That's another option. But here's something we forgot that I want to throw in. More than 65% of students who go to art school will never work in the art field. Now, a part of the reason is because a lot of them don't have talent. So this idea that, everybody has the ability to make money with their art doesn't make any sense. There are people who go to school for 4 years, 5 years, 3 years, and they don't have any talent, and they use that degree to go into something else. So I would say, look, if you want to find out if you have what it takes, why not freelance? Why not? You're not getting called back by the big companies. Okay, try to freelance. See if you can deliver on projects. See if clients are happy with your work. See if you can build a clientele where people are coming back to get work from you. If you say, well, I'm going to work, now this is hypothetical, I'm going to work on my own project and just do my own thing. Well, how do you know if you're any good? Right? I mean, that matters too.
And that's where when we were coming out of school, that you had a huge argument back then, because there was no real way, besides your parents and the people that you're going to school, basically your little network of friends, those were the people that kept you in check. If something sucked, they hopefully would be like, yo, Carlos, yeah, that logo, I wouldn't even give you $50 for that.
Well, depending on them, 9 times out of 10, someone wouldn't even do that. Even the good ones, we know that.
Whereas
Charlie, you know this.
Yes, I know.
That's so many different.
And that's where I'm coming from.
Today we have so many different ways to show our work. There's, just Facebook. There's
Facebook.
Just all of the social networks. What's that? The one that the art one.
ArtStation.
Sketch Zone.
Sketch Zone.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. There's so many different outlets now. There's so many more different outlets, and I'm not talking about the students that suck. They're not going to get any work anyway. And I'm not, but I am speaking to those who have talent, or who doesn't have as much talent, but they do have a lot of hard work. There's a lot of people that are in the game industry, that are in the film industry, that aren't necessarily talented, but they're very good at learning a program and learning stuff. So there's two different things you can do. I say do your own projects, because you need to have more than just stuff you've done at school in your portfolio. I see students on Polycount and all the other places that are actually making money off of the stuff they create, and then that catapults them into getting real jobs. So what I was saying earlier is to do both. What you and Carlos were saying, take as many freelance jobs as you can do, but do your own stuff, because there's no reason why you can't sell your own stuff in this day and age now. It was different when we were coming up, but it's totally different now.
I remember when I was in college, some guy had approached me. He wanted to do some TV show where he was dressed up like some crazy doctor clown thing, and he was going to have these animated characters on his show, blah, blah, blah. He approached me with the idea, and I went and I talked to Jared and a couple other people. And obviously nothing happened with it, but the fact that someone like that came, and he was basically like a $50 logo guy. Oh yeah, I'll give you guys a couple $100 to get started, and blah blah blah, and then if the TV show gets picked up and all this other stuff. There was so many contingencies hooked onto this dude's idea. Whereas these days, if you had a good idea and a couple people that can help you make your project an actual thing, you throw this bad boy up on Indiegogo or Kickstarter. All of a sudden, if it's that good, those are the people that are going to tell you that your project is good because it will be funded. These days, an artist doesn't need to work for $10 an hour. These days, you can create something and put it up on Kickstarter, or like Charlie was saying, that Patreon and stuff like that. If you are worth it, you can find the money to make it happen.
And what I'm saying is most artists aren't worth it. They're not there yet. Most artists have to actually learn things, industry experience, learn how to work with people, learn how to produce. Most people don't walk out of college ready to produce. Now, so as a dean of a college, I can specifically say that 90% of the students who graduated were not ready for this. And that's being nice. I would easily say 90%. So I've worked at 5 schools, right? And very few students who walk out are ready to say, oh, look what I can produce and this will make me money. Or they can take an idea and go on Kickstarter and make a living off of it. That's rare. So what about the majority? Let's talk to the 90%. The 90% probably has to learn some things.
And how many $10 an hour jobs they're gonna have to take in order to eat then?
I don't know. I can't speak for every artist. I can say they're gonna have to take some. They're gonna have to learn what it is they need to do.
Okay, well, nobody's saying they're not. No one's saying that Kickstarter or Patreon is a magical thing where they're gonna make money automatically. We said if you're good. I mean, you have to speak to both sides. I mean,
and maybe that's the lesson to learn. Maybe maybe you need to keep getting ripped off on these $10 an hour jobs.
And get better. Yeah.
To get better.
I was gonna say $10 an hour. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Look at you're not helping.
You're not helping at all.
Hungry people out here. She's like, yeah. Not $10.
But that's the big divide. So to us, they say, okay, look, if you say anything under $52 an hour, that's offensive, right? $45, that's offensive. To her, who's just getting started, $10. She might make $100 a week. That's outstanding to her.
And so at the same time, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Where if you're getting paid by the hour, it might make more sense. Whereas if you charge a per project price,
yeah.
Whereas, okay, I'll do that logo for you for $50. That's where good business sense has to come in. $10 an hour, I can see. You can make it work, especially if you're working like 40 hours, maybe even 50 hours a week. Maybe it might start making somewhat sense. People can do it, again, if they have roommates or parents or whatever the case may be. But if you're doing 2 weeks worth of work and all you're getting back is $50, what do you say to that kid?
Oh, I got a question for you. And you freelance, so you're going to be able to answer this. How many times have you taken a financial L to get a step ahead? Meaning, took a project that you knew wasn't advantageous financially, right? It was holding you back. But you knew if you could put that in your portfolio, if you can show people what you did or could do while getting a little bit of money, it was worth it. Now, I know personally, I've freelanced for years without having an actual job. I know that I've done it, especially starting off. And Carlos, you freelance. So, I mean, haven't you had those situations where you took a little bit of money, but you knew that the experience was important for you? You knew that that portfolio piece was good for you?
Tell you the truth, I have so many things happening all at the same time that I haven't had to take a hit. I can't even tell you how long. It's been a long time since I say, yeah, I'll do it as a favor.
But that was in the beginning, right? When you first started, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm talking about people in the beginning, not people who've been doing it for 10 years, 15 years.
And I guess what I'm trying to tell those people that are just starting is, just watch yourself, because in addition to getting your degree in whatever creative industry you want to get your degree in, if you want to go into freelancing, also read some books, also watch some videos. Go onto lynda.com. They have a lot of business videos that you can watch, because what's going to happen is there's people out here that have been doing business a lot longer than you, and they have They have taken advantage of many people. And as a creative, especially those new people that are coming out, you're devaluing your work and you don't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
And my suggestion to those folks are, instead of taking that $50 logo job from that seedy guy who has his own company, in his basement and all that stuff, instead of doing that, work on your own stuff. Mm-hmm. Because, and let me tell you why I say that. Number one, his logo is not going to get you anywhere close. I mean, unless you're going to be a logo designer and a graphic designer, then obviously go do that. But there's a lot of people that we all know, they can design logos, they can design web pages, but they can also do 3D and special effects. And their long-term goal is to be in the special effects industry. Why are you wasting time designing a logo? You don't need $10 or $50. Take your skills and focus on what you buy. There's a lot of people that I have met in the game and special effects industry that instead of even going to school, they went and bought software and they bought a really nice computer. They taught themselves how to do special effects and 3D and all that good stuff. And they didn't waste time on other people's stuff. They worked on their stuff, and now they're in the industry killing it.
I don't know. I think to that point, because I do think there's a happy medium where you can do both, which I'm trying to say. I mean, when I started out,
is that both with an F?
Huh? I didn't hear what you said. I didn't hear what you said. You had that Cub stuff on, and they lose all the time, so I kind of blocked you out. What you were saying.
Okay.
But anyway, when I started out, I knew that I went to a school that wasn't in my home state, and I was too far away just to go home. And where I lived, there wasn't the industry that I wanted to be in. It wasn't there. So going back home I would realize I'd be doing a lot of things that people I went to high school did, which is staying stagnant. So I was always taught to work.
Have babies.
Yeah, exactly. I was taught to work. So I went out and got a regular job. Worked at the mall, did store managing, worked my way up, got a small salary, which wasn't even good. It was $25 a year, but it was enough for me to have my apartment, pay all my bills, buy food whenever I needed to or whatever, do what I ever needed to, and then work on my stuff in the evening. I've never had to. I can honestly say I've never had to take an L, in order to progress forward, and I think that's another thing they have to do. You can't be afraid to just go work. There's nothing wrong with working at UPS and working on your stuff when you're not at work, but actually working on your stuff and not just making UPS a career. I mean, if you want to do UPS for a career, go ahead, but there's nothing wrong with finding a place and working, and then working on your goal. Because I think, people, it's all about work ethic, And I guess if you really want to take those small jobs, you can. But I don't really think as a upcoming artist, it's going to benefit you that much.
So let me ask you this. So the argument is that now that you're better off, instead of taking jobs close to your field that's creative and freelancing for $50 or whatever the price is, $250 or whatever, you're better off going and working at Foot Locker.
You can do both, Tyrus. That's what I'm saying. Why does it got to be one or the other?
Here's what I'm asking. Why is one better than the other? Meaning,
did I say one better than the other?
I didn't say. Why are you so defensive, Charlie? I'm trying to ask you. I'm asking. Hold on, wait. I'm asking you a question, and you're interrupting my question to defend yourself. Exactly. I'm literally asking you a question. You're interrupting the question. That's okay, Charlie. Clearly I hurt your feelings tonight. So
no,
it's okay, Charlie. It's okay. We're sensitive tonight.
You always do. You're the king of arguing.
It's okay, Charlie. It's okay, Charlie.
Turn it personal all the time.
I'm sorry, Charlie.
Why can't you just do both, Tyrus?
Why couldn't I ask you a question without you interrupting me?
Go ahead. I don't
want to ask you no more. I don't want to ask you.
Okay, let's move on to the next thing.
Let's move on to the next question then, Charlie.
Gosh.
Let me interrupt you, Charlie, and say this.
Because you think one way is better.
I just wanted to interrupt you. Well, how do you know what I think?
Because
Do you have
we've
a
been
question
listening.
for me? Do you have a question for me? Ask me a question. Do I think one way is better? No.
Yeah.
I would say that there's value to people who want to go out and work in the industry or close to the industry, and there's value in people who say, well, look, I'm going to go and work at Foot Locker, and then I'll come home and work at my stuff. But to say that everybody can come out making money, I don't think that's true or
But
realistic.
no one said that.
Otherwise, did I say that everyone said that you said that, Charlie, or that Carlos said that? Or am I giving you an antidote?
Okay,
Did I
go
say
ahead.
that anybody said that, or did I give an antidote?
How long have you guys
Say
been
that
married?
You know
everybody
what, Charlie?
making
You
money.
know what it is? You know what it is? You're emotional. That's what it is. You're emotional. You can't hear me talk because your
I'm just
emotions
like
are good. You can't hear me,
This is why
dude.
this is great, because I'm like you.
Sensitive, dude. You're not like me. You're not like me.
Right.
I don't have to interrupt you. I'll let you talk. I'll let you be wrong. I don't mind. I'm nice like
Am I
that.
wrong?
I'm nice like that, Charlie.
Okay.
You all right?
I'm good. I'm
I'm
good.
just making
I just-
sure.
I just-
You
I
get a
just
little
think- I just
emotional.
think
It's
we should
cool.
Bring it in. Bring it in.
That's right. Bring it in.
Hug it out,
Okay.
baby.
Right.
So, Dara, have you learned anything today?
I can't stand anyone on this podcast.
I learned not to speak your opinion too loudly, or two people start arguing about it. I don't know.
That's what that show is all about.
It's just passion,
Uh-oh.
man.
Keeping it
It's
real.
passion. Whoa.
Jack turned into Darth Vader. All this.
What's going on, Jack?
What?
You
Your
sound like
mic,
a robot.
Jack
take-
wants
I'm
to be
gonna take it.
Optimus Prime.
I'm gonna take advantage of it. What do I sound like?
Jack, your mic is screwed up. Mute yourself. Fix that, young man. Let's go.
Fix that, young man. You only do sound effects now. You're like the sound effect guy.
So, Dara, has anyone ever reached out to you and asked you to work on their project to beef up your portfolio?
No.
No.
No one.
Lucky.
Well, I mean, I wish, but not really.
Well, you're a really good example of someone that doesn't need to that can actually beef up your price a little bit, because you're already working, you're in the industry, you're not selling shoes, so you don't need to really use someone else's project to express yourself creatively. What do you guys think? She's almost a picture perfect graduate, right?
Yeah, I think she's on
Crickets.
the right
So
track.
that means no.
No. It doesn't mean that at all, Derek. You've actually always been ranked as one of the highest artists in all the program when you were in our program. So both Charlie and I always speak and think highly of your work, and more importantly, your work ethic. I was being quiet because I thought Charlie was going to respond, and he was
And I
probably
thought you were
going
going
to
to respond, actually. Sorry. Thought you were going to say something first.
And a little piece of me died inside. Like, oh.
No.
No.
Like the biggest thing I think, and Carlos and listeners, I don't know if any other international students have to deal with this. The biggest thing that Dara has to deal with, Dara has to deal with, is the whole work visa thing. And I've been working with her even outside of school, of trying to get that going and working with the school, because it's kind of hard for some international students. The way the country is right now, there's some really, really hard restrictions on after they get done with school and stuff like that. And I know she hasn't mentioned this and stuff like that, but like, we know Dara has really, really good work, and there's studios that would really love to have her. She just has to get past this work visa thing, and once they do that, but once she does that, she'll be in the industry. I know it because she's already had great opportunities, So once we get past that hurdle, which I think you said you're almost done after 3 months, you're gonna get your work visa, right?
Well, no, they made a mistake, so now I have to wait another additional 90 days-ish.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, so it's just really frustrating because.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, blame Canada. You know what I mean?
You can't do that, no.
You can never get anything right out there.
If I say that, my parents will never let me come home again.
You're in America. Why would you want to? Are you into trees and hockey? I mean,
Yes.
Well, she likes maple leaves,
Is there any truth to the portrayal of Canadians from the South Park guys?
Yeah.
He drops all type of A's. Just give it long enough.
We used to laugh at her when she first got to school. She said, "I said, hey, come here." She said, "A? Like, what did that mean?" I'm from
I
Canada.
purposely teach myself not to say that now because people are always like, "What did you just say?" So I'm like, "What? Beg your pardon?" See, I'm losing my heritage. It's not cool.
You still love the beaver, so you're all right.
Easy. Yeah. This is a family show.
No, she knows. Tell them about the beaver. Tell them about it.
Oh yeah.
Whoa,
that little red beaver. Tell the people about the beaver.
If you're under the 13 years of age, you may want to hit mute for the next 10 minutes. Okay, talk about your beaver.
No, the majestic beaver of national. I don't know. You're confusing. I don't want to say anything.
The majestic beaver of what?
No, Canada.
Is that the
That's the national animal.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. It's our proud beaver of Canada. I don't want to talk anymore. I'm giving like a bad portrayal.
Just so you know, I used to go to Canada every year for the. I used to go to Toronto, Caribana, so I'm very familiar with Canada. And I would go there, and once I took somebody. I was there, and we were in the Roots store. So Roots is like the brand of Canada, right?
Yeah.
And we were in Toronto, and we were in the big mall, and I started talking about like how they had this beaver, and we were laughing so hard, and I'm not kidding you. The people in that store got mad. They were like seriously mad. Like, how dare you make fun of this beaver? It's majestic, just like she said, and they were seriously offended. And we were like, dude, we should really leave. These people are actually upset. Yeah, it's true. You might not ever be able to go home again, Miss Honeybourne.
Yeah. We'll have to see. I got to beg to see if I can go home for Christmas now because I've been contaminated apparently with too much like U.S. influence. So whenever I go home, it's a little bit interesting.
You're a better person for it. Don't worry about it.
Especially in Chicago, Chirac. So speaking of going into different countries and such, we kind of touched on this topic earlier with all of these companies going out to different countries, gaming companies and especially special effects companies. We all know, like Josh is in Singapore. Singapore's making a killing with special effects and such. Let's talk about that a little bit. What's going on? Why is America losing all these special effects and animation jobs?
Well, I mean, it's really the fact of, like we said earlier, if I can get somebody to do it for $6, why would I pay you $26? I mean, it's supply and demand. It's simple. If I can get it done, like right now, I work with people in India. I'd rather pay those people than to pay someone in the U.S. who's going to cost me 3 times as much. That's just simple business. It's basic business, and you hate that it happens, and you realize that it affects the industry that you love, that you're a part of. But how could you argue against that? Like, what's the advantage of saying I'm going to pay full price as opposed?
So then explain why a lot of the work is going to Canada when they're actually more expensive than we are.
I don't know. I can't speak for Canada. I'm talking about the India and Singapore thing.
Oh, well, a lot of it's going to the UK as well, and they're way more expensive than the US.
I don't know. I don't have
that's why I said Jack should lead this part.
Well, and then here's an argument against it as well. Me being a Flash developer for most of my career, I had to deal with a lot of people down in South America, and I would make a killing because the projects would go to South America and they would code everything incorrectly, and then I would inevitably have to be called in to save the day. So now, exactly. So now, I know that it's a rush job. So you're paying me time and a half by the hour. Rush. It's basically a rush job because I know my life is going to stop for the next 2 to 3 weeks to save your ass when you should have called me in the first place. So, and I've heard, as far as cartooning and some animation and stuff, I know projects being sent to India that come back, usually the quality isn't as good as if you were to get an American animator. Has that been?
It's getting better. I mean, each time you work with an outsourcing company, it gets better and better and better. And I would say within 5 years, they'll be on par. I mean, they're just catching up educational-wise. A lot of them are getting American educations, or getting online educations, or just their local schooling is just catching up. I mean, these supposed third world countries have first world access to the same information, and I mean, I think it's really, I mean, there's a lot of facets to the problem, but I mean, there's kind of two major ones, and one's the one that Tyrus is talking about, where it's supply and demand, and the U.S. is just an expensive place to do work. And you have these other countries that are substantially cheaper, and they're getting better by the day. So the question is, why not just take it there? And visual effects and art's not the only one suffering from that. I mean, the tech industry has suffered from that. Manufacturing has famously suffered from that. That is just an economics problem. But in the visual effects industry specifically, there's kind of a second larger facet, and that's government subsidies. So basically all the governments of Canada and the UK specifically are offering, Canada I believe is right around 33% on every dollar to the film studio. So if they take their work there, they immediately get 33% back. So if you're doing a $100 million movie, it only costs you, $66 million. And that, I mean, why wouldn't you take advantage of that? It's instant cash back on your project. So there's a huge argument of whether or not government should be involved in the subsidy industry and if that's fair. And back to what we were talking about earlier is how that affects unions and the ability to form a union. And then you got governments competing with each other, even local governments such as states or provinces competing with each other. I mean, BC had their kind of standard 33%, and then Montreal started kicking in theirs, and then so you had these two provinces that are competing internally, hurting each other. So the Canadian government as a whole said, we got to stop doing that. We're just going to offer a flat one across the country. But how is the U.S. supposed to compete with that? California has subsidies, but nowhere at that level. I mean, I think the last thing I read, California subsidies were something like 5-10%. You just can't compete with that.
So, Jack, you took the time to ask me a question you knew the answer to. Nice. Nice.
Well, that's how I roll.
Just wanted to show everybody how smart you were and
making magic.
Economics in the 33%. No, but you're right. You're 100% right about that.
Well, no, but I mean, what you were saying is correct. I mean, there is the larger facet that can't. That there's nothing governments can really do. I mean, we just will not be able to, charge a lower price than India, even with our subsidy. Even if we offer an 80% subsidy, I mean, my company charges X amount of dollars per shot in a film. Let's just throw out a number and say $30,000 for one shot, and we outsourced to India, and they were charging $15. It's like I mean, they can mess it up 600 times, and it's still just slightly more than what we're charging. It's just
that was $15 a shot.
Literally, they're $15. Yeah.
And their quality is actually getting
better. I mean, it is getting better, and it also, some of it just depends on the task. You don't send them complicated animation stuff. You send them kind of easier remedial stuff that your studio doesn't want to do. But even so, your studio is going to charge $80, $100 an hour, whereas they're going to charge $15 flat. It's like we just, even with 33, 40, 50% off, we just can't.
So how, in the perfect world, how can we fix that, or
that's a hard question.
We can't fix it, and you see it. We can't fix it. It's what's happening is inevitable. We know it's going to happen. You can't fix it, and India is constantly growing. They're becoming the tech capital of the world. Everything's moving toward India because you can't compete with them.
So I mean, they'll get to where America is in. and then
yeah, I mean, America's
somebody else
freaking
will
out.
come
Like,
up,
how do we
somebody else
stop
will-
this?
somebody
How
else
do
will
we
change.
fix this? But
Yeah.
you know, the reality is America's facing what the entire rest of the world has been facing for the past 200 years. It's like, let's move to America because that's where the jobs are and that's where all the work is.
Right.
And now it's, you know, Americans might have to move to China or India or, you know,
Singapore.
may not be on top anymore.
We have a lot of friends that have moved away, and there's one guy that, right now, he's about to leave the San Francisco area. He's either going to go to LA or to Germany, I believe. Yeah, it's it's getting to that point. What country would you guys want to go to if you guys had to?
Canada.
Oh.
I'm so full of it.
It's the best. It's the best third world country I could think of.
You heard me right there.
It's got your running water.
You get to poop inside.
If I had to pick,
He would freeze.
I'll go. I'll probably no. I was thinking. I'm not froze. You could be confused with like.
Really,
I
Charlie?
wouldn't mind England. You know, they have a great VFX in game industry, or maybe like I wouldn't mind like Singapore or somewhere like that too, because they have a really good.
I keep
Thank
hearing.
you, Jack. Thank you.
Why is that? You just asked a question. Why do I get crickets? See, Jack, you're abusing your power.
No,
You
it's
can't-
not. No, it took him too long. It took you 45 minutes.
and you guys still haven't said anything.
We're waiting on you. It's like,
Go ahead.
I said Canada.
Where will you go, Tyrus?
Daryl, would you,
already said
he
Canada.
said Canada. Daryl, where would you go? Not Canada. You can't say Canada either. That's cheating.
That's my default answer. No.
I'd go hunt. No.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I guess anywhere kind of in the UK in general. Just because, why not, right? But, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying my best to stay in the U.S., so right now that's the dream.
Yeah. Jack, if you were forced to leave the U.S., which is getting pretty damn close.
Botswana. No.
Nice. That doesn't have an I in it. No, honestly, I would go to the UK. Like right now, I got a company that I'm working with in the UK, and the pay is crazy. I'm just like, the pay is crazy in comparison to what I make in the US for the exact same thing. It's double. It's double with. Yeah, it's literally double
Exchange.
what I would make here. So
I mean, you're basically the Indian kid for the American
That's right.
employers.
That's right.
They're like,
That's right. Yeah.
you're like, woohoo! Look at this double exchange rate.
Yep.
They're like, we're getting him for real cheap over there.
Yeah.
That was Australian. Sorry.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
the worst Australian
What was
accent in the history of the world.
I thought he was making fun of the black people.
Me too. It had a southern twang to it. It was like weird.
I was in Germany for a while when I was in the Army. I really liked it there. And their design and their technology out there it's getting ridiculous. So I'd probably give it a go out there. Otherwise, I'd probably go see about that Singapore thing. Mm-hmm. They seem to have it kind of under control out there. Clean streets, plenty of jobs, low taxes.
Cane you for spitting out your bubble gum.
Caning.
They do still cane. It's true.
You can hang out with Josh, right? Is he still out there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh and Chad.
Oh yeah, that's right. Chad's out there. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Chad.
Or did Chad come back? I think. Oh, I think Chad actually came back. Actually.
Are you sure? I thought last I talked to him, he's still out there.
I think he was actually coming back. Yeah.
Okay. Chad's another great artist that we'll have on the show, and you guys will get to hear his experience and talk to.
Thank you.
Josh will be back also. So you guys who are following the podcast, you'll get to meet these guys. Fantastic artists, tons of real-world experience, and you'd love to hear from them.
I was about to give you the clock. I was like, nobody knows who Chad is. Hurry up.
Speaking of exporting jobs and making animations and such, Angry Birds is going to cost $180 million to produce.
Why?
That's crazy.
I think it's the real question. Why? What in that game is worth $180 million to
No,
make?
no. It's their feature film.
Oh, the movie.
But that's still, I mean, there's no way that movie won't be a flop because of the money they're spending to make it.
But you know how much money those people are making off of them goofy ass birds?
A lot. A lot. But let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Because when you give your phone to your child, it gives them a good 20 minutes of something else to do while you're waiting to do something else, or where you're in someplace public. When you talk about a movie, that's different. Like, I don't think if they spend that much money making that movie, they will not make that back. Not in the U.S. They won't.
Not only do they make money off of those games, but I remember it was a bright, sunny morning. I was on my way to play golf. I pull into the 7-Eleven right there on the corner. I go in, get my Gatorade, my water bottle, and I look over, and there's a box of Angry Birds candy.
Yep.
These kids are making candy.
Yep.
Merchandising.
Yeah, merchandising is crazy.
Geez, and again, we can talk about merchandising and actually making things outside. But these guys, they're making candy, they're making stuffed animals, they're making games. Now they're making $180 million movies. And what's funny is all of these jobs are not in the U.S. Even like I've been looking at getting all of my comic strips. I have almost 200 comic strips up at my Robots and Aliens thing, and I want to put them together and make a comic book or some sort of collection.
A trade paperback or something.
It's actually going to be probably like a soft cover book, a little bit meatier than a trade paperback. I don't think like the trade paperback doesn't really, since I do 3 panels, it doesn't really make sense to be in a trade paperback. Anyway, all that to say, I've been taking a look around. I know Jack has experience with getting his books printed. He found some folks. I think they're. Jack,
we are in print now as we speak.
Right now, there's a sweatshop over in some outsourcer that you use printing off stuff.
A government subsidy.
Yeah, getting a tax break.
But yeah, and not only Jack. Jack is the closest person I know that's been going through like the publishing thing. But really? I've done a few Kickstarters.
It's not like I have 7 books on the market, but go ahead, keep talking.
I haven't seen them.
Thanks, Carlos.
I haven't seen them.
Right. Good job, Jack.
I haven't seen them.
Don't worry about it. Keep going.
Okay. So I've done a few Kickstarters where I've kicked in on a few Kickstarters, and I'm starting to get all these books in. And it's crazy to see all of these people are getting their books from China. Tyrus, talk about your experience with printing books, and do you go to China?
I don't want to talk about it. I'm emotional, like Charlie. I'm hurt.
No one was hurt today.
Right.
That wasn't it. No, that wasn't it. We were just having a passionate conversation.
Yeah, some of us was more passionate than others, but hey, Carlos, listen.
Yeah,
some of us need to be more passionate.
So yeah, what you're saying is true. Like, it's cheaper to go to China. The only reason why I would say stay in the U.S. and produce a book is if you had a seriously specialized book, and you needed hands-on. You needed to go in and say, I need it exactly like this, and you didn't want to travel back and forth. But overall, I mean, even that, China's catching up. I was talking to a publisher last week, and we were talking about how to have the book delivered and what the options were. And she said, look, we have to do this in China. I was like, yeah, I can. It's not the first time I heard that. So that's becoming more and more actually the norm. They're just really good at it, and they're really inexpensive in comparison to using traditional American ways.
And you said that you had 7 books out in the market?
Yeah.
Have you gone each way? Have you had them printed the same exact way each time, or have you tested different ways?
Yeah, so some clients want to go through CreateSpace, right? My most successful solo book without a publisher, we went through CreateSpace, and that book did really well. And the quality, I think I have a book around. The quality was really, really good, and the books lasted, so they didn't fall apart. But I don't think that was at home. Then we did.
Are they? Is that like a digital print, or is it like the 4-color press?
Digital print with CreateSpace. The other option is, I believe Amazon CreateSpace is with Amazon. So there's another one. I can't think of the name right now. So I'll probably try 4 different ways. Mm-hmm. And I think the China connection, I like that. The Chinese connection, Bruce Lee, is the best way by far. But CreateSpace is pretty easy. It's very easy to use, very quick, easy to get a test mailed to you.
So what's that process like? You send them a PDF, they print you a copy,
and they mail it to you for approval.
They mail you a proof?
Yeah, they mail you a proof. Both always do that. Every company that I've dealt with, they always send you a proof. You get to thumb through the book, and you may say, oh, I don't like these pages. I don't like the paperweight. You can then say, send me a copy with this paperweight. So there's a little bit of back and forth if you're particular about your book. You may say, I want to, what's the word? You want a cover that's embroidered, right? That, you would then have to have them send it to you. Embossed. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. You would then send it to them. They'd send it to you, and then you'd say if that's what you wanted. So, but I'll tell you what I've seen so far. China does that the best. They really hit a home and they're inexpensive. But because of the technology that's out right now, a lot of smaller companies are popping up saying we can deliver, and they're trying to compete with China. It's not the one-stop shop it used to be where everybody went to the same companies here in the U.S. It's really whoever can be the most competitive. Like India is really stepping up too. But whoever can be the most competitive, they usually get the bid. China's just in the lead right now.
Jack, is your book, the book that you're creating now, is that traditional 4-color press? Well, it's black and white, but...
Yeah, it's black and white, but they still use all 4 colors to make the black. So yeah, it's a 4-color press. Yeah.
Cool.
And it is done in China.
Cool.
Should I cricket myself?
Would you like to cricket yourself?
No.
So, I want to, Tyrus, for real, I want to see your books. So maybe later you can crack them open and we can take a peek. And then I'm thinking of a question for Dara. Miss Dara.
Yes.
Have you ever wanted to, like, there's a lot of artists that'll take their concept work and then they'll put it all together with the finalized piece and they put it in a book. Have you ever thought of doing anything like that?
It sounds really cool. I just don't think I have enough pieces for something like that yet, but and it sounds cool.
What about like 3D printing with your models?
Actually, I was really curious about doing that because, like, if you do like a really cool like mech piece and like get that printed out, like that would be really cool to have. Like, yeah, here it is.
You can go do that now, inexpensive.
And that door knocker though. Did everybody see the Mickey's Christmas Carol where you got Goofy as the door knocker? I saw that for sale online. That you can get the Goofy door knocker.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, there's all type of outlets for 3D printing. I teach all type of 3D printing classes on through the other company I work for, CG Cookie, and libraries actually have really nice setups. Where they've gotten a bunch of money, a bunch of grants. So like, So there, if you had like some models you want to print it, you could take it down to like say the Harold Washington Library downtown Chicago, and go to their makerspace, or go over to like the Museum of Science and Industry and go to their makerspace, and like, but I know the library does it more so than the museum one, but and then print your stuff out for. I mean, and obviously since it's a library, it's really really cheap, and you get your models that you have that you've done. All you have to do is very easy setups, of getting them printed out. You just need the STL file, which you can export that out from any program, especially Maya, Max, all the ZBrush, all those programs have STL format, and then print your stuff out. So I really say get into that too, because I think that's a big wave that
What do you do with them though, like the models? Like give them as like a Christmas present to someone?
I mean, what
Like
couldn't
here
you
you
do?
go, mom and dad. This is what I do.
I mean, think about it in practical terms. There's a bunch of different ways, and there's a bunch of different things you could do for it. Like, so obviously, giving your mom like an org that you did, or some type of weird like character. Okay, cool. They'd be like, thank you, it's nice. But there's practical uses for it too. I've seen instances at the library where people have printed out parts for machines and then replaced those plastic parts with that, or they printed out. The library likes to do more functional things when they have different workshops of what you can use for 3D printing. So if you just do a little bit of research, there's a lot of things you can do with it. You can do it to make molds, to make casts, to reproduce your stuff, to sell them. So say you do really good art, you get really good, or you have a really good model or whatever, you could then 3D print that out, and then through other means use that print as a prototype for a mold, and then there's people online that are mass producing different figures or something like that. You think of a cute character or something like that. Yeah, it's taken the figurine industry by storm. So a lot of the ones, if you go like to Comic-Con and like you see like the Marvel booth, or if you go like to Chicago Comic-Con is coming up, to San Diego Comic-Con, you see those big huge figurines. Those are now being not made by sculptors anymore. Those are being made by like 3D artists.
3D artists, yeah, you're right, Charlie.
With ZBrush, with the same program you're using right now. So, like say someone like Tyrus, if he wanted to take that avenue, he could go and take all his models that he has printed, talk to. There's other. I can't think of the websites. Actually, you can send your files in and get the file structures for the molds and stuff, and start mass producing stuff. And
it's funny you brought that up, Charlie. That's what my goal is. That's why at the end of the year I have an entire series that I'm doing based off of hip hop, which I don't listen to anymore, but I'm still doing a series, and I'm going to make some money off of that. So yeah, Dara, you can do that if you have something that people like visually and you print it out. They'll pay for it. It's true.
I mean, I guess you have to, like you said, they gotta like what you have. So I don't think I'm at that point yet with like my work. So I'll have to see in the future, maybe.
Well, keep working for $10 an hour, and eventually you'll build up.
It's $0 an hour right now. It is.
So let's talk about that for a second, because a couple months ago, I was actually writing an iPad app, and you'd be able to design your own character and dress them up and all that stuff, and then send it to get 3D printed. The way that it works now, it's just one solid color, right? If I wanted to mass produce these things, does doing a 3D print, how would I finish the piece? Would I have to hand paint all of them?
China.
Yeah, there's other companies that do the mold making also, like Jack started saying it. There's other ways of. I think you have to go through those other avenues of getting it sprayed and getting it painted and stuff like that. But I think there's the 3D printing technology is like it's growing by like in every couple of months I see a new one. I saw a new version out now where like the way they cure the way the printer head goes into the liquid, the systems actually do it in like half the time. So say like a figure takes 6 hours. This new way of printing, which I have to give you guys a link for it to put into the footer notes or whatever, does it in like half that time. So they're actually getting faster with it in terms of those things. But I think some printers, more expensive ones, they might be able to do. I think there's some ones out there to be able to do color or based off of like.
Yeah, I've seen ones that can do different color plastic or whatever. But I think it's usually per part or like per for.
I want to say I read one where they might read vertex color information. So if it was like painted into like a program like ZBrush or something like that, it could do it. I think, like it was experimental one. But like they change in the way they do it each time. But Carlos, I think to answer your question better, I think you would still have to go through the traditional ways after you get the print. The print would still be kind of like the prototype that you would have that you use. But that'd be very interesting. I think that's where it's going.
I think the website you were trying to remember earlier is Shapeways.
Yeah, I think so. Shapeways was one of them. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Shapeways.com.
There's another, Jack, you may know this. There's another company in the visual effects industry. It's not Stan Winston, but it's I think their logo is like an anvil or something like that, where they're like one of the leaders in printing and stuff and like physical effects, real effects, you know. But they were like famous with the printing and stuff. They did a talk in Noman, but they're out in LA. Here, I would have to look it up. But I think they have a lot of different types of printers and stuff, you know, because they're like doing like I think like they helped do like the Master Chief one where they printed that one out, and, you know, and was able to start fitting it to like the actor rather than having someone sculpt it or make it, and it was like, you know, in like half the time, you know, and that's what they started really using those in like, you know, when they're making all the monster stuff and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But I have to look into that more. It's definitely cool. Definitely a rising industry.
Tyrus, have you ever thought of merchandising any of your IPs?
Other than the one that I'm working on right now that I'm talking about at the end of the year, actually I have two. I haven't had the chance to actually do it, but my goal is in November to be working on two that I'm going to start printing out and selling. So I have to get the Kickstarter started for one, and then the other one doesn't need a Kickstarter. It's just going to be individual pieces that collectors will buy. So, yeah, we'll see how that works out. That's a while down the line, but cool. I've been considering it. I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I've been looking at getting little stuffed animals and stuff with my cartoon characters, and I actually had some 3D models made. And the cow was a hit. Like everyone is expecting, or everyone can't wait for the cow to be made into a stuffed animal. I think that might be it for us. I'm trying to see if there's anything else we need to talk about before we hang up for the week. Dara, do you have any questions for us? Do you have any?
Nothing. It's just interesting to listen to everyone talk. So thank you.
Thank you for submitting your artwork and putting yourself out there. It's really great. You're listed on our winners page now, so you can send a link to your mom and say, "Hey, look, this is what I do for a living.
I'm famous."
I'm famous.
They're still trying to figure out exactly what I do, so this will help. Like, look, I made this.
Yeah, don't worry about that. I show up to family functions and they ask me what I do, and I end up fixing people's emails. And I'm like, it's not exactly what I do, but okay. Yes, I can fix your email, but it doesn't mean that I like to.
What's going on there, Tyrus?
I'm just closing the show. Just closing the show. That's all. That's all.
Is that this was gonna happen now?
Closing the show. Hey Charlie, you okay?
I'm good. How you doing over there?
I'm just saying, listen. I'm just, look, it was rough, and as a caring friend and a brother of yours.
You were about to say as a caring parent, weren't you?
Well, I was gonna spare you that embarrassment, but you said it. So, I
just going with what you're thinking.
Raising my son, I don't want you to be emotional, but I know it happens sometimes, and so my job is to usher you back to health.
Really?
You feeling all right?
You did such a great job this podcast.
Of not ushering you to health, I agree. I'm trying to redeem myself right now. Okay, let's wrap it up.
Dara, let me apologize for that last 3 minutes. If people
Sorry,
wanted to take a look at more of your work, where can they find you? Do you have a website?
ArtStation. Yeah, ArtStation. I have my main like portfolio up there. So it's my name, Dara Honeybourne. So you can just Google it, or I guess it'll pop up there, and yeah, that's how you can find
And you can also take a look at cargocollective.com/Dara Honeybourne. Right. Born as in Bourne.
Yeah, like the Bourne Ultimatum. Jason Bourne.
The Bourne Ultimatum.
Oh, you went with the ultimatum instead of the. Okay.
Charlie, any last words for the week?
Well, no, I don't really have any last words. Good to be back. Can't wait for the next one. You can find me at cbw3.com or cbw3 on Twitter and www.cargocollective.com/Charlie B. Williams. That's where you can find me, or you can find me arguing with Tyrus off air.
And losing.
Never lose. I just try to educate.
Losing while being emotional.
No one's emotional.
You're emotional right now.
Say your outro. Is this the conscious thing? Say your outro.
Jack. Please interrupt these two.
You can find me at sketchbookjack.com or sketchbookjack on Instagram and Facebook. Mr. Tyrus, where do we find you?
Mr. Tyrus.
You can find me in the club, popping bottles from the club. Hey, listen. By the way, while we're closing out, hey Tyrus, anything new out? Yeah, hey, I got a new tutorial out on CG Toots. Check it out, TUTS, CG TUTS, and all you have to do is put my name in, you'll find it. You can find me on Twitter under Tigo Sketch. You can find me on Instagram under Tigo Sketch, and my website is tigosketch.com.
There you have it. And I'm Carlos Gomez. You can find me at carlosrgomez.com. Or pretty much at Coconut Justice everywhere in the world. And this is Sketch Zone. You can go to sketch.zone, submit your artwork, and you too can be a part of the fun, just like Dara did this week.
Yeah.
That's sketch.zone. You can find us also on SoundCloud. You can listen to the podcast on SoundCloud. We're also on iTunes. So give us a search out there, and on Twitter at SketchZone. So that's it for us. Have a good week, guys.
See you guys.
See ya.
Really? Really? So offensive. You really need to get a new soundboard. You really do.
And do the Harlem Shake.